When a woman cheats, she doesn't just lie to you, she lies to herself first. She builds layers of stories to protect her image, her comfort, and her sense of morality. That's why most men never get the truth through confrontation. The louder you accuse, the deeper she hides. But psychology gives you another way: the calm, silent power of precision. You don't need to shout, threaten, or demand. You simply create an emotional atmosphere where her own mind can't hold the secret anymore. Because guilt, when handled the right way, becomes its own confession. These 6 psychological tricks don't force her through pressure. They make her reveal herself through truth. The first trick is controlled silence. When most men suspect betrayal, they fill the air with questions, accusations, and anger. But silence is far more powerful. When you grow quiet after discovering inconsistencies, you disrupt her rhythm. She's expecting confrontation, but not calmness. Silence makes her anxiety surface because she can no longer predict your next move. A guilty woman relies on controlling your reactions. But when you give her nothing, no anger, no questions, no emotional cues, her own guilt begins speaking louder than your words. She'll start explaining things you never asked about, offering justifications before you even raise suspicion. That's how you know the truth is trembling beneath her calm. The second trick is empathetic curiosity. This isn't pretending to forgive, it's giving her a false sense of emotional safety. You ask gentle questions, not like a detective, but like a partner who wants to understand. "You've seemed distant lately. Is there something bothering you?" Or, "You can tell me if something's wrong, I'm not angry." A guilty woman is terrified of judgment. When she feels your tone soften, she lowers her guard. She begins revealing fragments of truth, not because you pressured her, but because your calmness disarms her. Dr. Alina Rose explains that empathy is the most effective truth serum in relationships. When a woman feels seen without fear, her mask cracks under her own emotional weight. The moment you make her feel safe to speak, she will. The third trick is reverse projection. You gently mirror her guilt back to her without accusation. You might say, "I've been feeling like something's off between us, and I can't tell if it's me or if something else is happening." This confuses her emotional defense system. She expects blame, not shared vulnerability. Now, her mind begins spinning. Should she comfort you, defend herself, or confess? Most liars prepare for confrontation, not compassion. When you remove the fight, her deception loses balance. Her instinct is to restore emotional stability, and that's when the truth slips out. She'll start to reveal parts of her secret just to relieve the tension of the unknown. The fourth trick is psychological mirroring. You subtly reflect her emotions, body language, and tone back to her during conversation. This builds subconscious rapport and lowers her resistance. When she feels that emotional synchronization, her guard falls. Her brain interprets you as safe, familiar, and understanding. Then, when you ask calmly, "Is there anything you need to be honest about with me?" she feels emotionally aligned with you. Guilt becomes unbearable in a space that feels compassionate. This trick works because most cheaters don't want to hurt someone who still sees them kindly. When she feels that kindness, the guilt intensifies. And when guilt meets peace, confession becomes the only way to breathe again. The fifth trick is emotional prediction. You use psychology to make her believe you already know more than you do. Say softly, "I've already noticed what's been happening, but I just want to hear it from you." This sentence terrifies deception. Her mind races to decide how much you truly know. She'll replay every lie she's told, every text, every secret, and in that panic, she reveals more than she realizes. You're not claiming to have proof. You're planting doubt in her ability to keep lying. Dr. Alina Rose calls this cognitive pressure through uncertainty. When she can't measure what you know, her mind becomes her own interrogation room. She starts confessing, not because you forced her, but because she can't handle the tension of silence anymore. The sixth and final trick is emotional disengagement. Once she realizes you're no longer reacting emotionally, her sense of control evaporates. A cheating woman thrives on the belief that she can manage your emotions, your anger, your sadness, your reactions. When you detach and focus on your peace, she feels her influence fading. That loss of control triggers panic. She'll begin reaching out more, asking questions like, "Are you okay?" Or, "Why are you so quiet lately?" She'll test your emotional temperature because she can feel the balance of power shifting. That's when you say calmly, "I'm okay. I just decided I don't want to live in half-truths anymore." That single statement hits her conscience harder than any argument ever could. It forces her to confront her own dishonesty without you ever mentioning the word cheating. Dr. Alina Rose explains that guilt is a self-cleaning emotion. It wants release, but it can only release itself in the presence of calm authority. A man who chases the truth through anger rarely gets it. A man who stands still in awareness becomes the mirror where her own lies reveal themselves. Because guilt can hide from confrontation, but it cannot survive in peace. When you master silence, empathy, mirroring, and emotional detachment, you turn her mind against her own deception. She will tell you everything, not because you broke her down, but because you stopped giving her the chaos she used to hide behind. The truth comes not from pressure, but from the unbearable weight of calm understanding. Dr. Alina Rose reminds every man that truth doesn't need to be forced, it needs to be invited. When you stop reacting, she loses control. When you stop accusing, her guilt starts speaking. And when you stop demanding answers, she begins confessing them on her own. Because the hardest thing for a guilty woman to face is not your anger. It's your silence, your strength, and your refusal to play the emotional game she built to keep the truth buried. In the end, every secret has an expiration date. Lies decay in peace, and guilt always turns into honesty when met with strength instead of rage. So don't fight for confession. Create the silence that makes her give it to you.